One, Chris. Numbers one. One wide receiver drafted in the first round again. And this season comes down really to one guy. Let's get this sucker started.
Get dialed in, Panthers fans. Here comes an in-depth look at your team. Exclusive interviews. Locker room insight. Let's huddle up for Panthers Playbook. Here are your hosts, Dennis Cox and Chris Lea.
Welcome back to another episode of Panthers Playbook. That's Chris Lea, Dennis Cox here with you. First of all, if you haven't subscribed already, please make sure that you do. That way we continue to drop content for you all. You always know when it comes out. And also, thanks to everyone who joined us during the draft, who joined us live, all the videos that we posted after the NFL draft. And Chris, I always love when people leave comments in the comment section sharing their thoughts, because you and I get to read what other people are thinking. And Chris, you and I had a conversation that we're going to talk about this today. So much has been built up for Bryce Young. You're building around your franchise QB.
Boy.
Now he's got to get it done. Now he's got to get it done. To me, Chris, I'm going to say it right now, make or break year for Bryce Young.
You know, I agree with that, but in some ways that I don't think about the break, if that makes sense, right? Because the struggles that we've seen Bryce Young have, right? The biggest time he struggled was towards the end of the season in his freshman year, rookie year in the NFL. Bad coaching staff, right? Things kind of going haywire. You have no receivers really to throw to. You have no offensive line to protect you. And the hits
different play callers.
The hits kept mounting up, right? And so, then you start seeing him get a little bit of timid. Then he begins the 2024 season under a new coaching staff, new system, new line he has to get used to, some new pieces on offense. And I'm sure he was just like, yo, what is happening, right? Once Bryce got settled in, and once he started trusting his offensive line, once he started trusting the receivers that he had, started really building a great rapport with not only just Adam Thielen, but the new guys, other guys as well, Xavier Legette, David Moore, Jadeveon Sanders, Jalen Coker, those guys, you started seeing his production and his play going up. Now we don't have to worry about a new coaching staff, new playbook, or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of continuity, like we talked about before.
Oh, yeah.
Plus you add pieces. You have another really good running back in Rico Dowdle right there. And then you're going to have another tight end in the mix with already two that you trust. And now you have three more receivers that more than likely will make the team. And here's the other part. I don't know if you've seen this, Dennis, but there's a meme that was going around.
Okay.
That was showing Bryce Young's potential receivers for 2025 versus what he went on the field with in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So much better.
Oh, yeah.
In 2025, when the last 2 years, Adam Thielen was your number one receiver. This year, Adam Thielen, legit. This is nothing against Adam Thielen himself. Could be the fourth receiver. And that's just being generous and expecting maybe Jalen Coker to not take a step up. But if Jalen Coker steps up, Adam Thielen's the fifth.
Yeah, theoretically. I mean, depending on how you rank things, but if Adam Thielen is your number 4 receiver because of everyone else is playing so well, those guys being McMillan, Xavier Legette, as well as Coker,
Renfro,
and then Renfro, depending if Renfro's like 4-5, if Thielen and Renfro are your 4-5, great. That means those young guys took major strides, and that's a big thing. And Dan Morgan, the general manager of the Carolina Panthers, actually on Wednesday afternoon joined Tim Donnelly on The Drive, which is part of 99.9 The Fan. You can actually, right here on our YouTube page, go listen to that conversation. And Tim asked Dan Morgan about Bryce Young and Tetairoa McMillan about, hey, how much influence did Bryce have on this draft pick? And he said that, hey, you know what, Bryce isn't the most, demonstrative voice or loudest voice, but he said, I like him. He's the best receiver out there. I've built a rapport with this guy, throwing with him. He's that good. And Dan Morgan fully acknowledged, we listened to him. Mm-hmm. So if Bryce is sitting there telling the front office and coaches saying, hey, look, like, I want that guy, and then they give you that guy, you better go make it work. Like, as simple as that. Again, look at, you mentioned all the continuity in the last couple of years. Actually, you think about it, since he was drafted in 2023, they've drafted 3 wide receivers with really high picks. Remember, Jonathan Mingo was a second-round pick, Xavier Legette was a first-round pick, and now Tetairoa McMillan, a higher first-round pick, being 8th overall. That pick has gotten even higher every single year that Bryce Young, since he's been taken. And then all the guys that you mentioned, whole offensive line coming back, JT Sanders that they drafted, Chuba Hubbard's coming back, they drafted Travis Etienne got drafted. All these other guys that they brought in. The reason why I say it's make or break is because Bryce Young is eligible for a contract extension after this upcoming season, Chris. He's eligible for a contract extension. So is he the last 6 weeks of the season, Bryce Young, that we saw? Is he that? Because if he's that, awesome. You have your franchise QB. But he has to prove it. Are you like good for this 5 or 6 weeks? Can you beat it over 17 weeks of a season or 17 games of a season and help this team get to the playoffs? Everything around you on offense, it's all back, built for that one guy. Can he do it over the course of the year? That's simply the question we don't know, and he has to prove it.
I think me and you are kind of saying the same thing, but just in a different way. I'm just saying that I have faith that it's going to be the make part, simply because I don't see a world where it's break for Bryce Young. You know, literally, like, you know, I think he gets ragged on a lot for his first year. His first year wasn't as bad as it looked on paper as far as what Bryce Young did, right? He didn't have the necessary pieces around him to make it happen, and my man was getting touched every single time he dropped back. Like, it really wasn't fair. Beginning of last season is on Bryce Young. He kind of came in a little scared, a little timid, and we saw once that confidence got up, he was who he was. And I just don't see a world unless like something really bad has happened during this offseason where Bryce Young comes in with all the continuity, pretty much everybody that he had success with in the last few games of the season in 2024, plus more pieces, a guy that he was throwing with, in California, who was picked 8th overall, along with a burner and Jimmy Horn, which we didn't even consider him in the whole in the whole equation. Plus a great route runner in Adam Thielen, and you add a great route runner in Hunter Renfrow, and second year Jalen Coker and Xavier Legette, and you add Rico Dowdle. I'm sorry, it feels like this offense is going to take a step up. I think you said the Panthers were 21st overall in offense, or 22nd, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, depending on what categories you're looking at. Yeah, depending on they're mostly in like the late teens, 20s, depending on different categories. Whether it's yards per carry, actually yards per carry overall was actually really good, but scoring offense, total yards, things along those lines, third down conversion, everything. With
what they brought in, to me, it's not out of the realm of possibility for them to get up as high as maybe in the 10 or the 12 to 10 range in the NFL this next season, right? And here's why. We talked about how bad they were on their third down. There's no Panthers receiver who ranked in the top 45 in the NFL on third down conversions last season, right? All of a sudden, you have Tetairoa McMillan, who is second best in FBS college football in third down conversions and 0 drops last year.
Reliable hands.
So he's reliable. He's already, building a rapport with Bryce Young, and he did it before he was even drafted to the Panthers. So that's a good thing, right? He just kind of needs to show up. Hunter Renfrow, I love that addition because I feel like Hunter Renfrow, I don't think he's ever really necessarily had a bad season. No. Like, he had ulcerative colitis. He was out last year. He has to get back into shape. But my man can shake off almost anybody. He's going to get open, and he is going to make some plays for the Carolina Panthers.
Third and Renfrow.
You know what I'm saying?
Third and Renfrow.
You know what I'm saying? Adam Thielen, I don't think he's going to drop off. He's still going to do what he does. He may not get as many targets because there's other folks there. Bryce Young right now, basically what you're saying is he literally has no excuse. And I don't see a world with what the additions that the Panthers have that they don't look a lot better, not only on third down, but also on the red zone, getting first down, staying on the field, things like that. It just feels like this is the year where they take that step up. I'm not thinking playoffs, right? We still have to see how the defense comes together. A lot of great pieces on defense. We have to see how it comes together because I don't have a lot of faith in Ejiro Evero right now. But on the offense, they're going to take a step up, and it needs to be in that 10-12 range.
We should do make or break year for Ejiro Evero on defense next week.
That's the real discussion.
That is for sure.
That's the real discussion.
So you mentioned what McMillan can bring in terms of third down conversions, right? Like the big body receiver that can win these contested catches on a consistent basis, something Bryce hasn't had. Last year, the Carolina Panthers were 26th in the NFL on third down conversion percentage, just 36%. That's barely one of every three, slightly more than one of every three, 36%. Fourth down conversion percentage was 46.6%, still 26th in the NFL. Red zone, there actually were 62% in the red zone last year in conversion rate. That's eighth best in the NFL.
Yeah.
Now, the question is, can you get to the red zone consistently enough?
Yeah.
That's the big thing because they still only average 2.4 touchdowns a game, which is middle of the pack, 18th in the NFL. If you can stay on the field longer, and this is, again, where the coaches now use complementary football. You know, that's the big buzzy word term over the last few years, complementary football. Convert more third downs, stay on the field longer, keep your defense more fresh, defense play better, now with more depth. Again, this is the trickle-down effect. Sometimes things that don't necessarily show up in a stat sheet over the course of a game. These are things that can help you out, and all the pieces feel like they're there. Now, one thing that we got to keep in mind, Chris, a lot of these pieces that we're talking about, McMillan, Coker, Legette, Jadeveon Sanders, Bryce himself, they're still really early in their careers. We're talking first, second, third year guys. That's what we're talking about. Really, really young players that are getting live game reps together, building continuity and consistency together, but they got to put themselves, or at least experience some of those tough situations. We saw late in the year some 2-minute drives. We saw some, hey, we got to have it plays late in the game, Atlanta. Got to get a touchdown here because we're trying to win ourselves a football game. Those are the kinds of situations that we saw them get late in the year last year, which should hopefully pay dividends this year.
Here's another factor that we're not talking about when it comes down to how the offense takes a step up. Dave Canales.
Great point.
One of our biggest criticisms of Dave Canales last year was play calling, not that he had bad plays, but it's also just the timing when you called certain plays. I felt like he was really in his bag at the end of the year in that Atlanta game.
Yeah.
When they closed that. I mean, we saw some new plays, some new wrinkles. That could be, maybe a preview of things to come for 2025. And if so, it looks good. But we also saw a lot of times where Dave Canales himself, the guy that says our identity is we're going to run the football, wouldn't run the football. And I think, maybe you could blame it on, well, we don't want to put too many miles on Chuba Hubbard, and we're really not, that keen on his backup, the guy that we were paying too much money to, that came in and we ended up cutting this year, right?
Who was hurt for a chunk last year too, Miles Sanders.
Who was also hurt for a chunk. But I'm also wondering, maybe, do the Panthers have a little bit more faith in Rico Dowdle? Do they have a little bit more faith in Trevor Etienne, excuse me, when he comes in? And of course, he has to go through a whole, off season with him, mini camps, OTAs, rookie mini camp, and also training camp to build that trust. But that's the main thing I'm going to be looking for. You talked about staying on the field, and running the ball is how you stay on the field. Also, do we start seeing more jet sweep actions with Xavier Legette, or maybe even, Jimmy Horn Jr.? Those are things that I'm thinking about as far as keeping the ball on the ground, having longer possessions. And we know from their offensive line, those guys feel like they operate best when they're running. It's easier for them to dictate what it's going to be like and set the tempo of how they're going to try to dominate the other team's defensive line if they're running the ball. So a lot of it will be, how does Dave Canales grow, not only as a head coach, but as a play caller from 2024 to 2025.
It's a great point because Bryce Young's third year, this is going to be Dave Canales' third year as a play caller. So again, this is still really new to him. He himself is still figuring it out. And I think it's going to benefit him that he already knows his personnel.
Yeah.
That's one thing as well, is that, again, top 3 receivers from last year all coming in, all the continuity, we've talked about it. So now I just got to, as opposed to teaching everyone everything, I only need to get McMillan, Renfro, Mitchell Evans, Etienne, and Dowdle. I got to get 5 guys caught up. That's the thing. Crazy. I just got to get 5 guys caught up as opposed to 25 guys all on the same page.
And enough veterans in their group to help them get caught up.
Yes. Like, I have no problem. Like, I have no doubt that Rico Dowdle and is going to pick things up fast. He's a veteran that's been, and same thing with Renfro. I have no problem that those guys are going to get caught up super fast. Those guys have been in the league for a bit. But McMillan doesn't have to me, McMillan doesn't have to be the number 1 guy right away. That's a position that he can grow into because of everyone else that's already around him. Etienne can just be a role player right away. Mitchell Evans doesn't have to be a number 1 nor number 2 tight end right from the get-go. Again, health all mattering into all this. He can grow in his role. And I think that's something that we have to keep in mind as well, is that Dave Canales doesn't have to, again, teach everyone everything. It's about getting my 5 new guys caught up to everyone else. We've talked about it before. Having all that continuity, Dave Canales can go to the board and go to video. Hey, guys, remember last year against Dallas when we struggled with this? Everyone was like, yep, I remember because I was there.
Yeah.
You know? And Rico Dowdle can go, yeah, I remember when we struggled in that game against Dallas because I was there. Because I was there.
That was me.
But I'm
the reason why you have this line.
Exactly. I think that's going to be a massive benefit. If Dave Canales is like, I just got to get really 5 or 6 guys caught up. Again, not teaching everyone else everything.
Did you hear what Dan Morgan said about Mitchell Evans when he sat down with Kristen Balboni and Thomas Davis?
I did not.
Okay, so that was a very interesting conversation as well, where he admitted that basically it was going to be Tetairoa all along for him.
Oh, yeah.
Bryce just helped to, solidify it, because he said what he said. But he also talked about Mitchell Evans and what he's good at. And Mitchell Evans in his combine testing wasn't very fast in the 40. But in his short range stuff, he was one of the quickest guys.
Oh, and his 10-yard split, as fast as anybody.
And also he was saying that shows up on tape when it comes down to the short and intermediate routes for him. Like, he felt like he got open so quickly and easily that way. So I'm looking at somebody where I felt like Jadeveon Sanders was a lot more effective downfield. I feel like, Tommy Tremble, when he was catching, was a lot more effective downfield. You have that tight end now that, one, doesn't have a lot of expectation.
No.
He can, as you said, he could probably end up being, of course, TE3 and maybe only have 10, 11 catches this season or whatever. But when he does, he could be one of those really big 3rd down options, especially if it's like 3rd and 3 and you've got McMillan, you've got Renfro, you've got Xavier Legette and Rico Dowdle all on the field at the same time with Mitchell Evans. And all of a sudden, everybody's paying attention to those guys. You hit this guy really quick for 4 yards and you've got that conversion and you've got another 1st down. He could be really good in that, according to, what Dan Morgan was saying. So I'm looking forward to seeing how everybody operates. He's also talking about Etienne and how he'll be good in the return game as well.
Yeah, he mentioned that to Tim Donnelly as well.
Which I think that when I heard that, I was like, uh-oh, Raheem Blackshear, uh-oh.
Especially since Etienne, this is something he told Tim Donnelly as well, is that he can kind of do what Miles Sanders was in the offense last year. Etienne can do that. He can line him up out wide, motion him. He's a good pass catcher. Doesn't have to be pound the rock between the tackles 20 times a game.
You know I wanted that guy.
Yeah, I know you did.
I wanted that guy.
And he mentioned, he's like, yeah, we also feel like he can help us out in both punt and kick return. It's like, okay, all right. They clearly see a role for all these guys. And Chris, I'm excited to see what this team can do this upcoming season. I'm excited. Granted, I know pretty much every fan base is like, yeah, we got our guys for the most part, unless you're the New Orleans Saints fans, which apparently are like, wait a second, we drafted an offensive lineman and Tyler Shuck. Okay.
The last thing I'll put on this is I hope that Bryce Young, I don't know the emotions that he would have gone through between year one and the way year two began, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was at one point talk of, could the Panthers trade him? What could they get for Bryce Young?
Yeah.
Is he going to be in Charlotte? Everything just didn't seem like it was very solidified around him. And you brought up a point early on. And when we drafted you, we also drafted Jonathan Mingo because we were trying. It was a bad pick, but we tried. We got Xavier Legette. I think a better try for sure. Mm-hmm. And I think Xavier Legette is going to end up, I'm not as down on him as some Panthers fans. I think he's going to end up being a pretty solid receiver. You know, maybe not worth a first-round grade, but he's going to be a pretty solid receiver. We got Tetairoa McMillan for you also. We also brought in Hunter Renfrow, and we did the offensive line last year. And also we're bringing in Rico Dowdle, and we locked up Chuba Hubbard. Bryce, we believe in you.
Yeah.
That is why I feel like this is all make for him, because now there's absolutely no guessing games. When he steps on the field, there's nothing to guess about. You know the playbook. You're comfortable with the coach. You love him. You know everybody that surrounds you. And the front office listened to you when they went after their first-round draft pick. And now you can walk into this season knowing that you have the protection, you have the weapons, you have the investment from the front office, and you have their ear. Because if something does go wrong, you know you can go to them and say, hey, I think we should go in this direction. And they're going to do it. Literally everything a franchise quarterback could want, Bryce Young has it right now with the Carolina Panthers. In my mind, there's no way this is a break for him unless he, by myself, fails. Seriously, it's got to be a make. It's got to be a layup. This is a layup right there at the rim.
Has to be. Well said, Chris. Absolutely well said. Folks, leave your thoughts again in the comments. And again, hit the like and also subscribe. Thanks to each and every one of you for joining us every single week on Panthers Playbook. And Chris, we kind of teased it next week. Giro Evero, make or break year. We'll see y'all next week.